Hi folks, Seth here. Thanks for watching my monologue. In these uncertain times, you may be thinking about personal protection. If you are, I urge you to visit my friends at Guns Etc. They'll help you find the perfect protection for yourself and your family, and they can even teach you how to use it. They've been protecting Arizonans for over 33 years, and they stand for the great principles this country was founded upon. Or you can just click on gunsetcetera.com. And if you like my monologues, please subscribe to 960 The Patriots YouTube channel. Welcome back to the Seth Leibson Show. Happy December 9th, 2020. Okay, let's get to it. This came up on the show yesterday, and it's of a worthy discussion. How, in a Republican form of government, do we handle a disappointment or loss we firmly believe the result of unfairness, irregularity, or fraud? This question is, of course, not new, though it is with us anew today. It goes back, however, to our very founding. In fact, and Abraham Lincoln was obsessed with this from his earliest speech, his Lyceum address, and when he was president, where he asked, "Is there in all republics this inherent and fatal weakness? Must a government of necessity be too strong for the liberties of its own people or too weak to maintain its own existence?" It starts every now and then with a letter Thomas Jefferson wrote from France in 1787 about Shays' Rebellion. The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. It is its natural manure. Close quote. Forgotten often is this line horrified George Washington, prompting
the
him
Happy
to try
Honda
to
Day sales event is
create
here,
a
and thousands of new
strong enough
Hondas are
in
marked with
Philadelphia
clearance prices
at
and
the
payments.
convention.
Well-qualified
Keep
buyers
the
can save
sentiment
thousands with
from running
financing as low as
riot.
0.9% on select
Riot.
2020
Good
Hondas.
word.
Every Honda model is
James
clearance
Madison
priced.
was
Accords,
onto this
Civics,
too.
HRVs,
He put it in
CRVs,
Federalist
passports,
51.
pilots, and
A
more.
line
Don't
conservatives
miss
don't
the
much
Happy
love,
Honda Day
but it's
sales
there.
event with
Quote,
thousands of new Hondas
"In
in
framing
stock
a
with
government
financing
which
as
is
low
to
as
be administered by
0.9%.
men over men,
Search
the
your
great
local Honda dealer
difficulty
today.
lies
See
in
dealer
this.
financing
You
details
must
on
first enable the
421.
government to control the
When you
government.
bring in a guy like Russell Westbrook and
And
Bradley
in the
Beal,
next
I think they
place,
actually
oblige it
complement each other
to
more than
control
people
itself.
think. I think they're
Close
exciting
quote.
in the West. I mean, exciting in the East.
In
And I
A New
think
Birth of
they can
Freedom,
muscle
Professor
off
Harry
of
Jaffa
just
writes
sheer
this
talent.
about
They
Jefferson's
can muscle
line.
32 wins.
Jefferson's
35
reaction
wins
to
for
Shays'
you.
Rebellion
So I guess when I go
contrasts
stealing,
remarkably with the reactions
ooh,
of
I think
not
their
just
ceiling would be
Washington,
the
but
second
also
round
Madison and
of the
Hamilton and other
playoffs.
leading founders. For
And
them,
maybe
you think
that
they could
rebellion
take down
proved
the
a
Raptors
catalyst for the convention that
Pascal
framed the
Siakam,
Constitution of
doesn't step up?
1787, a
Look at them in the
document that
bubble.
had no
Mike,
more
did you just
urgent
ask me about the
purpose
Raptors? Is
than
Kyle
to
Lowry
provide
still there?
security for
I know
property
you love
against
Kyle
popular
Lowry.
You know I love
passions.
Kyle Lowry.
Property
So
was
Kyle-
being
Famer Kyle
endangered in
Lowry.
the states by the
Oh
people
my
seeking
gosh, I'm gonna
relief from
throw
debt, either
up
through the
once he gets
legislature or
inducted.
by mob action.
But Pascal, see, I just
But
I don't know
despite
if I've
his
seen enough
reaction
from
to
him. I mean, he
Shays'
had a
Rebellion, no one was more
terrible
committed
run.
than Jefferson to the security of
Yeah,
property
we
under the
swept
rule
who was like
of law, in
5, 6
popular
You did see
no
Miami
less
winning,
than in
kind
other
of come out of
kinds
nowhere.
of
You
government.
saw a Bam Adebayo
Jefferson always
become
believed
like
that
a
the
star
people
player.
are the origin of all
LeBron's
the
not in
just
this
powers
conference
of
anymore,
government,
so it's winnable
and that it is by the
anybody.
majority
I think
alone.
it
Pretty
is.
much.
I think that's right on the head.
Connect.
And yeah, you do have your KD
But in
and
keeping
your
with
Kyrie
his view
pairing
that an
in
elective
Brooklyn.
despotism was not
not
the
even gonna say
government
that. I
he
was
fought
gonna-
for, Jefferson believed with the other founders in the danger of majority tyranny. The rights of minorities, meaning the rights of individuals, were no less inviolable by the people than by kings. And he thought that popular governments were subject to corruption, and that resistance to corruption might be manifested in resistance even to popular governments. The right of revolution, which underlay all the people's rights, might then be manifested either in violent resistance to corrupt or tyrannical governments, or in the institution and maintenance of popular governments deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. In the 1790s, Jefferson was frequently of two minds as to whether the government instituted as a result of the ratification of the Constitution deserved loyalty as an embodiment of the
Hoops
people's rights, or
Podcast.
whether it deserved
David's
resistance
28
for
here,
having
along with
usurped
Brewer
powers never
Elbows
given to
and
it.
Dubfo 8.
As always, thank you, Guy, for this great
Transformation of
game.
the right of revolution
3.
into the right of free election
Questions
really
of
began with
legality.
Jefferson's own victory.
To say that President
In
Bush had a
1800,
rocky
we are reminded
relationship
that
with the
Lincoln's first
mainstream
great
media.
speech, the Lyceum Address of 1838,
And drafts gone
had
wrong.
as its theme
As
the
always,
particular
thank you, Guy,
importance
for this
in
great
a popular
game.
government of a
I want
reverence
to do an
for the
episode
laws.
today on drafts gone
Lincoln
wrong.
stressed
Brewer,
the
please
necessity
start
of
us
obeying
off.
even bad
Don't you guys
laws
hate
while
it
working
when
for their
you
repeal or
have a
reform
nice
because
ranking
disobedience
of
to bad
players
laws engenders
all
a
of them get
habit
taken?
of lawlessness.
Of course.
Easily,
Or at
That's
least
that
exactly
your
can
what
top
happened
two
to
get
me
mob
in
rule.
the
And when
Jabachi
law
draft
cannot
that I had.
protect
I got in
persons
with
and
him,
property, men will
I
turn away
just
from the
melted
rule
down.
of
Well,
law.
I forget who I got. I
despotism
picked in the first. I
for
think I took
security.
Clyde Drexler.
Indeed,
in the
Lincoln's
first round.
understanding in this speech
It's
of the
just,
dangers of
one of those
lawlessness for
errors.
popular
I pulled
government
up
or
B.
for the
David's.
inexorable connection between
Yep,
anarchy
ranking a
and
guy
tyranny
there, not
was
thinking that you'd
substantially
actually
the
get
same
him.
as the one
That's
that
exactly
animated
what it
those who
was,
called
and
the
they all went.
Constitutional Convention in 1787.
You know, I thought I was being sneaky during one draft where
Now,
I
that
had,
all said, I know there are
picked
still
Bobby
a lot of
Jones
questions raised, but let's
as,
start
like,
with
my
a few
second
facts of
ranked
history,
player, and somebody
beginning
picked him.
with the Thomas
Wow.
Jefferson
It's
didn't
crazy.
even
I was like,
apply
oh,
his
man, you got him earlier than I
1787
did, but,
Tree
you know,
of
I still
Liberty
wanted him
standard
early, but, man,
to
that's
himself
great.
even.
The
when
secret's
he
out
was
on
president.
him as well.
As
That's
the
kind
great
of what's happened with
constitutional
Jeremy Evans
historian
now. It's
Leonard
hard to-
Levy
getting
writes
harder and
in
harder
an
to get
entire
him.
book dedicated
He's
to this
November's
titled
Mario Bennett.
Jefferson and
Mario
Civil
Bennett
Liberties,
is
the Darker
Yeah.
Side.
discovery of the summer.
Thomas Jefferson, at one time or another,
Hey, I have
supported
Mario Bennett in my
loyalty
90s
oaths,
league, and I'm in the
countenanced
finals,
internment
baby.
camps for political
played that minimum
suspects,
amount
drafted
of
a bill of
games,
attainder,
so
urged
you didn't get wiped out
prosecutions
with
for
some of the
seditions,
other
for
stat
seditious
freaks.
libel, trampled on
Yeah,
the
you
Fourth
kinda
Amendment,
have to be
condoned
kinda be
military
careful. It's kinda
despotism,
tricky, like
used
when
the army to
if you
enforce
draft
laws in
somebody
times
that
of peace,
nobody ever
censored
drafts, or
reading,
kind of a
chose
sleeper
professors
pick,
for political
and you're
opinions, and
successful,
endorsed the
then
doctrine
you kind of open up
that the
Pandora's
means,
box,
however
and now
odious,
everyone's like, hey, who's this
were
guy?
justified
I'm going to try and get him
by
next
the
round,
ends.
or next game.
Right. You know,
Turns
somebody
out
else
it's
could
easy
just
to
pick
write
that same
somewhat
exact team next
irresponsibly
time.
from France,
Yep.
I guess, and a little
My
different
most
when you're in your own
recent
country.
league that I just
and
got
the president.
started in.
For example,
It's a
we have
90s
something
league, and I'm
called the
trying to get
Insurrection
all
Act.
players that I haven't drafted
Many of us
before.
wanted President Trump to use it.
Oh, yeah.
to put
Would
down
you
the
like to
BLM
share
and
on this?
Antifa riots
Because maybe the
earlier
draft will
this
be
year.
over
It
by
was the
this
cause
time
of Tom
anyway.
Cotton's op-ed
Who
in the New
those
York
players
Times
are,
that led to the New York
who's
Times
eligible for
editorial
this.
page immolating
I've got
itself.
7 down there because
Guess
I
who
have
signed the
6th
Insurrection
pick, and
Act into law?
That's the only thing I might
Thomas
change
Jefferson.
on is
He did so after writing to his
George or Barkley
Secretary of
fall to
State,
that
James
spot,
Madison, asking
I
if he
would
could use
get one of them.
military troops against
and
the
I'm kind of fudging it a
insurrection
little bit if
out
I
of
don't
Louisiana.
get Barkley.
Madison said he
So
could
this
not,
is really,
and thus
I'm really cheating
came about
because
the
I have
Insurrection
because
Act.
Brewer
allowing
mentioned Mario Bennett, and I have
just
Mario
that.
Bennett in
Now,
there
if I
too,
may go
'cause
back
have
to
have
Professor
one good
Jaffa
player.
for a moment, if an individual's
But it'll be a
discontent with
first
the law
round
is
pick.
shared
But my other guys I have
with the
Michael
majority
Adams,
or a large
who,
minority of his
has
fellow
a season where
citizens,
he's jacking up 9
they
threes
may
a game,
join
even though
together
he
to
only shoots
resist
like
it,
30%
or to
on
have
them.
the law repealed or
That'll be
declared
fun.
unconstitutional.
Billy
in
Owens at
court.
shooting guard.
The best example
he's
in our
almost a
own time of how
triple-double.
these processes
He's,
are related
like
to each
a
other is
9
provided by the Civil
rebound,
Rights
8
Movement that
assists.
culminated in the Civil Rights
Larry
Act,
Johnson can play
1964.
small forward, so there's another big
1968.
rebounder that's a good shooter
Here,
there.
civil disobedience,
And
court
at
action,
center,
political
I'm
action, and
hoping-
finally legislative action,
there's no
all
doubt I'll get
conspired
all
to
these
produce
guys.
an outcome that,
But
in all
Sam
likelihood,
Perkins at center
would not have
give
come
me
to
more
pass
three-point shooting.
without the concurrence of all of
And
them.
his defense isn't
These
bad.
same elements,
We'll
in
see.
different
We'll report
proportions,
back later
have
on
been
how that
present
goes.
in all the great political
If it
movements
goes
and
okay.
controversies in American history, including slavery,
For more
temperance,
from your
women's
penandchase.com
suffrage, and
Hoops
pro-life.
podcast hosts, please
To
check
repeat
out
what I
the
said
West Coast
earlier, there
Wiffle
still are,
Report
of
on
course, lots of questions.
Spreaker.com,
Listener
on
Steve
Twitter
from
at
Phoenix
AZ
emailed me
Wiffleball,
this, quote,
and
"Dear
Sports
Seth,
Limelight on
I
SoundCloud,
totally agree
on
with
Twitter
your view that
at
violence
Sports
initiated
Limelight.
from our side will be a terrible thing. Violence is terrible, and will most likely aid the radical leftists getting control for a long time. I have a daughter who's a socialist. I hate that she's a socialist, but I love her and will certainly not want bombs or guns going off to kill radical socialists. If something like that starts to happen, most everyone, conservatives included, will support rounding up violent right-wing extremists. Now here is where I have to let you have it. A criticism to what I heard of your response. It was to vote in 2 years and take back the House and Senate if we lose it, or increase our numbers if we keep it. I do agree we need to do that, and help however we can to win the runoffs in Georgia. But I think considering the anger going on, you need to also speak speak up for engagement now. Something to point out, when Obama was elected, the Tea Party formed. They engaged in protests, spoke up on social media, and were instrumental in Republicans taking back Congress 2 years later. In this election, even setting aside whether there was fraud or not, 10 million more people voted to re-elect Donald Trump. We have the potential of organizing an opposition that will make the opposition back in 2008 look like a Tea Party, no pun intended. My main point is we need to not get discouraged, but engage. How? I believe there are a lot of ways, but a key thing is is to know thyself. I know in previous programs you spoke about getting involved with schools and consider running for school board. That's good. I'd also push for more immediate things, like if you used to go to church but got turned off by their liberalism, go back. Speak up. Give them hell, so to speak. Use social media to communicate your views. Going to social media sites that don't censor, like Parler, is fine, but don't immediately abandon Facebook. I like various local news sites and often post on them. Engage with liberals and other conservatives there. You might get banned, but try as long as you can. Maybe keep creating new accounts. Other ideas: join the Patriot Party, join meetup groups of conservative Trump supporters, join rallies and protests. I don't support violence, but civil disobedience and in some cases protests are good. Support businesses that defy lockdowns or restrictions. Join in protests over the mask mandate. Back regarding the churches, you can tell the pastor or priest if the church doesn't speak up against the left, you will direct your donations to GoFundMe accounts to assist lockdown defiance. Close quote. I'll add that I had said a few other things the other day as well, stopping unsolicited mail-in balloting and voter ID. Quite good and quite right, all of it. Thank you, Steve. One of the problems with violence against America is it will always be violence against fellow Americans, and it will not be successful. It will be bloody and it will fail. It is also inconsonant with everyone we want to revivify and study, from Washington to Lincoln. As the old man put it, there is no grievance that is a fit object of redress by mob law. Oh, sure, Antifa thinks there is, and BLM thinks there is. Not us. We build pillars hewn from the solid quarry of sober reason here. I'm Seth Leibson. We'll be right back.